All right, everybody, we are back with the showcast after that break. Like we said earlier on in the program, this is a twofer this week, and this gentleman is certainly somebody we are very excited to speak with this time around. Earlier on, last year and earlier this year, we've been lucky enough to speak with Colin Mockery and Brad Sherwood and Greg Proops, who are all great guests, but this guy is one of my personal favorites. From Whose Line Is It Anyway, airing Fridays on the CW at 8 o'clock. Please welcome to the showcast, Mr. Ryan Stiles. Ryan, thanks a lot for joining us.
Wait a minute, you had those guys on before me, so you're kind of taking the bottom of the barrel.
Well, no, we're not. It's just just the way.
I think you were originally unavailable.
Yeah.
What, is Josie Lawrence not available?
Well, we were originally trying for Clive, but that was a little harder to get to.
Yeah, Clive's a lawyer. Clive would never do this.
Yeah.
Don't tell any of the other guys because I didn't, but you are my personal favorite on the show. So we save the best for last.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm actually going to listen to reruns of those shows to say you probably said the exact same thing to Colin, but I'm going to check it out.
Getting started a little bit on the interview, I know a lot of people don't know about you, and I didn't even really know until we started, reading into you a little bit more. Is you're primarily known for improv comedy, but you actually got your start at a very young age performing stand-up.
Yeah, I did. I actually quit high school to do stand-up in 1976. I was up in Vancouver. I was growing up there, and I think the drinking age at that time up there was 19, and I had fake ID to get in to do stand-up. So I think I was 16 or 17. And it wasn't real, stand-up wasn't really popular at that time. People did, there wasn't a stand-up club in every city, and it was kind of that David Brenner era around there. So it wasn't, when we did it at clubs and stuff, people really didn't know what it was yet.
Yeah.
So it was kind of fun before everybody started doing it. And then, everybody started doing it. It wasn't as much fun. And I didn't like writing. That was my hardest, that was the hardest thing about stand-up for me. So when I got into improv, it was perfect because I could still be funny, but I didn't have to write anything.
Yeah. So I'm assuming it's pretty safe to say then that you stick primarily to improv now. You don't still go out there and try stand-up at all?
I do. I mean, I have my own theater where I live here, so I'll go out and, sometimes go out before the show and warm up the crowd, but I don't think of it as stand-up. But I guess I am doing stand-up. I kind of have to give me the light, my own theater. But, I'll do 20 minutes, but it's not prepared stuff. It's just kind of talking to the crowd. But, it's a whole different feeling walking out doing improv. And when you come out as a stand-up, they kind of realize you've worked in your material, and there's kind of a make-me-laugh kind of attitude. But when you come out as an improviser, they realize they're responsible for what you're doing. So it's a much warmer feeling, and they want it to work because, they're behind you on it. But, I prefer it. I don't think I'd want to go back to stand-up now.
Yeah.
And you mentioned your theater that you opened up, Front Theater, and that's in Bellingham, Washington, right?
Yeah, we're in our 11th year when Drew and Whose Line kind of ended. Well, Whose Line ended the first time. It's back again. It won't go away. But when those two shows ended and I, was here permanently, I got tired of either going to Vancouver or Seattle to do improv. So there was a lot of people at the university town. There was a lot of people doing improv here. So I built a theater and they run it. And I just drop in and do shows. So it's perfect.
Yeah. How often do you get a chance to actually join in on the shows there?
I'll be there tonight. I go every Thursday if I'm in town. And they have kind of, Thursday is kind of Harold Longform night, so I kind of do that. People think I do games all the time because of Whose Line, but I prefer not to do games. I kind of like to do scene work, longer form work. So, and on the weekends they have set shows, so I don't usually go out on the weekends. I got kids and stuff. But every Thursday, I'm usually down there. At least once a week I'm on for sure, somewhere.
And is it all mostly improv, or do you guys have some stand-up people there as well? And
I think like two Thursdays at the 10 o'clock show a month they have stand-up. So we do it like twice a month. But it's not known as a stand-up club. It's more of an improv sketch kind of place. So.
That's cool. Has anybody, that started there maybe and kind of grown on and gone on to do like bigger theaters and things of that nature?
I have a lot of people that moved away to do improv other places, to Chicago and New York and Los Angeles, and, no Steve Carell's or anything. Yeah, but, they're
That's
all
still pretty
young,
cool, though.
So,
yeah.
It's cool. And, some come back and some stay, and, we revolve all the time. We lose members and we get new ones, and it's kind of cool. It keeps me young because I'm working with the younger people all the time. So,
yeah.
I kind of like it. And they all grew up watching Whose Line, so.
I was going to say, Drew came up for a show before, hasn't he?
Drew's been up, Colin's been up. They've all been up. All the guys have been up. Greg
cool.
Proops has done his podcast for my theater, I think, 2 or 3 times. So, they've all done it at one point or another.
Okay. And you mentioned that that people expect you to play games and stuff like that, and because of Who's Line, and I want to switch to that just for a minute because obviously it's what you're known for. So we really you can't really avoid it as much as we'd like to talk to you about stuff that people don't talk to you about. But I'm curious. Over the years, you've done over 200 episodes of Who's Line. You did the iteration. You started with Clive, went through Drew, now you're with Aisha on the current iteration. You've done a ton of different games throughout all that time. And I think you've made no bones about it, at least from what I've seen, definitely through the Drew years, that one of your least favorite games is the Hoedown.
Well, you know what? I think my least favorite games are the ones that we do all the time until we give it a break, I mean, we don't do it as much in the new version. We'll do it like once every 6 shows or something, so that's great. But anything we do a lot, I just kind of get tired of, And plus, I'm usually last in Hoedown.
Yeah.
So the first thing that I think of, I just throw away because I know Colin's going to be doing it before me. And it's just after a while, it just gets I actually prefer games that aren't like that. I prefer games that are kind of more scenic, where we're playing a scene rather than props or something like that. But it changes all the time. If I do a game a lot, I get really bored of it. If we leave it for a while, we come back to it, then it's kind of exciting to get. But I don't, Hoedown for years, we did every show.
Yeah.
After a while, it's like, oh, give me a break, please.
I mean, for a while, it seemed like that's how you guys would end the show.
Yeah.
For a while.
It's not necessarily how we end the show while we're taping it, because we usually get 2 or 3 shows out of every taping, so, while we're taping it might be in the middle of the show, but yeah, he usually ended the show with it for sure, but back, especially in the old days in the English version, but we got a lot of new games now, so it's kind of nice that we've kind of switched it up a bit, because you do get bored doing the same stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And also you're going to get same suggestion, eventually you're going to have to change. If you get plumber, you're going to have to find 9 different ways to be plumber, because you can't do the same stuff all the time,
It seems like
we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
It seems like you guys do Helping Hands a lot on the new, at least this season. Do you get tired of that at all, having Colin shove various things in your mouth?
It's kind of a little different because I'm usually doing it with someone different. We usually have a guest star doing it.
With the guest,
so the situation that I'm doing it is different. So I'm usually playing off them, so I'm not thinking about it just being hands, Colin's hands through me, which people forget sometimes that he's making me, lick his fingers. And, it's really, it just occurred to me last year after doing the show for, 15, 16 years or whatever, that maybe he should, during a commercial break, maybe take a shot of Purell or something. I've never thought about it before. I never did in all those years. He's just shoving his fingers in my mouth, and he's not, he's not the cleanest of guys, Colin. He's Scottish.
Are there?
Have you ever choked on anything that he shoved? Because it's a miracle that you haven't, at least on camera, that I've seen.
Yeah, no, I've almost tapped a few times on stuff I just don't like. And I think he shoved the entire, I hate brie for one thing, and he shoved an entire wedge of brie down my throat. And, those little onions, those cocktail onions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He dumped a bowl of that juice down my throat one time. I almost got it. Yeah, I almost cacked on that one. But anything he'll make a burrito and put all these ingredients in it, and then he'll just squeeze it into a ball so the sour cream's just oozing out of it, and then he'll make me take a bite of it. That kind of stuff. If I start to think about it, it starts to make me cack. But if it was real life and it wasn't a TV show, I'd throw up.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's a TV show and the adrenaline's going, it's kind of different.
Yeah, it seems like with a game like that, it would almost be dangerous to tell Colin what you like and what you don't, because it would seem like he would make a focus of the things that you don't.
Oh, he's just going to brutalize me any way he possibly can. So, yeah. But you got to remember, my hands are behind my back, so they're really close to his nuts. So he takes it really carefully,
Out of all the games that you play, are there any that you find that kind of come easier than other ones? That ones you can just walk into, or you hear that they're going to play it and okay, I got this down. This is going to be easy.
I used to like, and people don't think of me as a singer, but I do like the musical numbers. We used to have a thing called Bartender that I really liked.
Yeah.
We had to sing through, and even the 3-person, when we sing one word at a time or whatever. I like that kind of stuff. It's just different, and I like to sing because people don't expect me to do that, so that's always fun. But I kind of dread games again that we play a lot, like First Date or games like that. It's like, oh man, how many ways can I do this? Or newscast or whatever. It's like, oh God, please don't make me do this. So we're always excited to get new stuff, new games, even if they don't work. At least we're trying new stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's for us, it's not like a TV show. It's not like doing 2.5 Men or Drew Carey where we do a scene and then we do it 3 or 4 times again. from an audience standpoint, we never reshoot anything. So we'll do 20 or 30 games a night. So it's like a show for them. It's like a stage show, you know.
Yeah.
If it works, and when we were selling the show, when I was selling it with Drew here, when it came to America, they said, you know, what if something doesn't work? And I said, we need stuff that doesn't work, because if everything works, nobody's going to believe it's improvised. So, you know, it's really kind of a no lose kind of situation, you know.
Yeah, and I've seen, I know it's floating around YouTube, and I have it on my computer as well. I've seen it's probably like a good 45-minute long outtake reel, and it shows a lot of that. It shows a lot of the games that don't work, you know, because somebody screwed up or somebody couldn't think of something off the top of your head. Or in your case in particular, it seems like you swear more than anybody else.
You know, Greg probably swears more than anybody else, but I usually get caught at it more than anybody else. Because I make the least amount of mistakes. So, but yeah, no, Greg's notorious for throwing in a fuck here or a fuck there.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're also playing to the crowd that's there, you know. So if something doesn't work, we're just, you know, fuck, you know. You gotta tell the crowd that you're kind of frustrated, you know.
Yeah.
But they're with us. They want it to work. So it's not like, you know, and we just redo it. Yeah, that's usually a game that if it's usually a song or something where someone blows a lyric or something, and we'll just start over immediately, you know. So
yeah, and I know
you
may say you make the least amount of mistakes, but at least when it comes to Colin, you tend to break more than anybody else, because it seems like he can make you break quite a bit.
He just cracks me up. You know, I've known Colin since Vancouver. I mean, we started doing theater sports in Vancouver in, I want to say, 82. So, I mean, that's how long I've known Colin, you know, close to 40 years. So, but at the same time, Colin lives in Toronto. We've talked on the phone in 40 years, maybe 5 times, and I'm not exaggerating.
Wow.
We just don't keep in touch. So when we see each other once or twice a year, when we do Who's Line, it's like, hey, how are you? It's like a brother, you know, that you don't see for a long time.
Yeah.
But we've known each other for so long, I know what he's doing behind my back. So, but he can, you know, he cracks me up sometimes. He just he'll say something and it sneaks up on me, and I don't think I'm going to laugh, but it gets me, you know.
Yeah, he had mentioned it,
which is what we want to, you know, from an audience standpoint. If they see you're having fun, it's easier for them to have fun, you know.
Yeah.
But we definitely don't, you know, pimp it and, you know, try to do it. I mean, if he makes me laugh, it's because he's making me laugh, not because I'm trying to make the audience laugh. You know?
Yeah, he had mentioned it when we had interviewed him earlier, and I remember it. I remember it as clear as day because it's one of my favorite moments of the show. Just like the tapioca incident, if you remember.
Oh, that just got me because, you know, and that's the thing, you know, Ricky Ricardo, number one, half our audience isn't going to know who that is. And that song, I know what song Ricky Ricardo sang that sounded like what he was singing, and that's what made it funny to me is the fact that we knew that song, but 80% of the people watching that show had no idea what he was talking about. So that's what made it really funny to me.
Yeah.
Half the audience watching doesn't remember I Love Lucy, you know. So the fact that he did it to that, and, you know, it just cracked me. He's done a few things. It's usually during greatest hits that he gets me.
Yeah.
He just comes, I think, what was it? He got me for some other singing group, too. He got me one time and I couldn't stop laughing. And when I start laughing, I can't stop laughing.
Yeah.
I don't laugh very hard like that, but I'm very, very often like that. But when he gets me, he gets me.
Yeah.
I know another one you see a lot of people break with is the questions game. Does that game ever get, like, competitive to see how long you can stay up there asking questions? I know you and Colin are pretty good going back and forth with it, at least. Does anybody really get into it?
Well, you know, no, you can't. I mean, you can't be competitive in improv. You just can't do it. It's not like, you know, that's another thing about stand-up. I mean, stand-ups are incredibly competitive with each other. They want to be better than the one that's on before them or after. But, I mean, that just doesn't work in improv. I mean, if someone wants to be the star of the show, then everybody else will just shut them down. Because, you know, if he doesn't get offers, you can't do anything funny. So,
right.
You know, if someone's trying to be a hot dog, it's just, you're not going to do it. Because I'm not going to offer you anything. I'm not going to make you funny. So,
yeah.
You know, if I walk across as a waiter in a scene and never say a word, I'm just as responsible for the laughs in that scene as everybody else, you know. But what we do sometimes in questions only is if you're on a roll and it looks like you're just not going to be buzzed out, you'll purposely say something that's not a question because you want the other guy to get in.
Yeah.
So that's more the case than not being able to think of something or getting competitive. It's usually dying on purpose, you know. The art is not to die on purpose to make it look like you're dying so the other guy can get in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's to make it look like you really did die, you know. The questions, that's a pretty easy game just to ask questions all the time.
Yeah.
It really is. As long as you keep the scene going, you can ask questions all day, you know.
Yeah.
It's funny, though. You can definitely tell when one of the questions throws the other person off, which is one of the funnier moments, especially with some it was one of the more recent episodes. I don't remember which one. It was this season, but Colin had on like that trout thing, that that little musical trout that everybody had. Well, there was like a mask or something that he had on him, and you had walked out and just essentially turned right back around.
Well, I mean, sometimes he's not even wearing anything, and he gets me. He's just such an odd-looking man. But I mean, you're taught to do exactly, or I mean, you're doing what you're taught not to do. If you go, Colin and I both came out of Second City, and most improvisers are taught not to ask questions in scenes. That's what you're taught not to do, and suddenly you're doing a game where that's all you do. So it's pretty hard to do, because any other time you improvise, you're not going to ask questions.
Yeah. Yeah. I know another thing you're pretty known for and you're good at, and you'll have to forgive me because I'm gonna geek out because a couple of my favorite scenes are part of this. But you're good at doing a lot of impressions, throughout it.
Yeah, I'm not really. I mean, every interview I do, people will say, "Oh, you're known for doing Carol Channing and John Wayne." Well, I'm not really. I mean, I've done them on a few shows, and they make me do it on a few shows. But I only do impressions that everybody in the world can do. Everybody can do John Wayne, and everybody can do Carol Channing, and everybody thinks they can do Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
So I'm not doing like Bruce Dern or any like incredibly hard people to do. But it's a bad impression of a bad impression. John Wayne, anybody can do John Wayne. I just do a bad John Wayne.
And Jimmy, I will tell you though, one of the impressions that you have done, there were two in particular. One of them was you were playing. I think it was Party Quirks, and you had to do Carol Channing in love with the shag carpeting, and you ended up breaking the neon light on Drew's desk with your head.
Yeah, everybody was very concerned until they found out that I was okay, and then they couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah, exactly. And the other time, it threw me for a complete loop because I never expected it. I don't remember what game it was, but I grew up watching one of my favorite shows, even when I was a younger kid, was Taxi. And in one game, just in the middle of it, you threw out your impression of Christopher Lloyd from Taxi. And
I can do a Christopher Lloyd, but the thing is, I mean, most of the time, like when we're on tour and stuff and we're doing colleges, nobody knows who the hell, Taxi. Nobody's ever watched that show. So they don't know what you're doing. They just think you're doing an odd character.
Yeah.
So I don't, I'll be in the middle of the scene sometime with Colin, and I'll whip out like an F Troop reference or something, and he'll be like, "Hey, good job, F Troop, really current," But that's what we grew up in, and it's like I Love Lucy,
Yeah.
People don't know those things, but we have to do that because that's what makes us laugh. So,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do a One Direction scene. I could care less about One Direction. I'm going to do what I know.
Or a Justin Bieber impression or anything like that.
Well, Justin Bieber, I'm not going to do an impression of Justin Bieber. I'll just make fun of him.
Yeah, that's kind of easy.
Before we let you get going, I think one thing that I know I often forget about, but you were actually in both iterations of Hot Shots 1 and then Hot Shots Part 2, which is. Yep. I think Part 2 is probably one of my favorite spoof movies of all time, and I haven't watched 1 in a while because if I'm going to watch 1, I just go straight to 2. But I mean, how was it working? With like Charlie Sheen and everybody that was in those back then, and you were even 2 separate characters in each of them.
Well, what the odd thing is that I end up doing 2.5 Men for I ended up doing it for 10 years off and on. But the fact that both Charlie and John were both in the first Hot Shots. So
that's right. I forgot John Cryer was in the first one.
John was in it too. So by the time I'd done that show, when I started doing 2.5, I already knew these guys.
Yeah.
And I already knew Charlie because we shot all my stuff up in Sacramento and around there, like in those rice fields where the boat was and all this stuff. So we spent a lot of time together just doing nothing. So I already knew Charlie when I started Hot Shots, or when I started 2.5 Men, and John as well. So it was a comfortable thing to come into, but it's amazing, like, as your career goes along, you don't feel like you're getting older. You still feel like you're in your 20s, but then you look back and you go, oh, wait a minute, I did a film with this guy like 25 years ago, so which Hot Shots is, I think, at least probably 25 years ago.
20, the first one was 24.
Yeah, so, you know, I mean, you look back and you don't feel like you're getting older, but you look back and it's like, wow, you know, it was a long time ago that, you know, I look back and I go, well, Charlie was young, and I was young too, holy smokes, you know. But you don't think of it that way. You just think of it, all you want to do is, you know, to me, I could care less about, you know, award shows. And, you know, when I was nominated for an Emmy, I never even went to the Emmys because I think it's a big fashion show anyway. So, but, you know, and Drew didn't do that either. Drew would, you know, he'd pull up in the limo and then he'd have the driver just keep going because he just couldn't go into the thing. But to me, it's more important than having a star or having an award or whatever is to have the respect to your peers. So, I mean, like, it's like 2.5 Men. I never had to audition for that show because Chuck Lorre, who produced it, I did a Darling Greg for him. I did one episode. So he just asked me to do it. So it's kind of nice in the business to have people to know your work and respect you for your work rather than to just, you know, be on a reality show or be on a talk show.
Yeah.
I have nothing to talk about on talk shows. I get asked to do talk shows all the time. It's like, what am I going to talk about? Me? It's like people that write books about themselves. I'm not going to read a book about somebody. I could care less about them. Like, you know, people say, you should write a book. About what? You know, about me? Who's going to read that? You know,
Was
I
there?
couldn't do that till my mother died anyway. I couldn't write a book about myself. You know, my mom knowing what I did. You know, during the '80s. You know.
With all, I mean, with Hollywood these days and movies and everything like that, everything's a remake or a sequel. Was there ever a talk about a third Hot Shots at any point in time?
No, I never heard him talk about that.
Oh,
No,
man,
never
I would
heard him
love
talk.
to
You
see
know what
one.
they're speaking of? You know,
Maybe not now.
Bringing back. You know what they're planning on doing? They're planning. You know, The Rock.
The movie?
Dwayne Johnson or whatever. No, The
Oh,
Rock, the actor.
oh,
The Rock,
yeah, yeah,
Dwayne
yeah.
Johnson. I think he's going by Dwayne Johnson now because he's an actor.
Are
now.
you about to bring up the horrible idea for the reboot of a movie that I think is dumb? With it's a particular '80s movie with Kurt Russell.
Yeah. Can you believe that?
We talked about this on the
It's
podcast
sacrilege.
earlier.
It's sacrilege.
It absolutely is, because for one, it's a movie that doesn't need to be remade, and I'm glad another celebrity agrees with us on this. And two, Jack Burton, if you look back at that movie, Jack Burton was kind of like a bumbling idiot. He wasn't a hero until the very end of that movie.
No, it's exactly right. They're just going to destroy the movie. They did the same thing to every movie I've ever loved. Like, I don't know if you guys remember a movie called The Out of Towners. It was Jack
Oh, yeah.
Burton, and they remade that a few years ago
With Steve-
Michael Douglas. It
oh,
was like,
oh, yeah,
come
that's
on,
right.
You guys.
Yeah.
No, they did the In-Laws with Michael Douglas, which is another great movie with Peter Falk, and that was a great movie if you've never seen that, The In-Laws. It's super funny, and they remade that. But no, The Out of Towners was Steve Carell and Tina Fey. They remade it. It was horrible.
Yeah.
You know, those movies are gems because of who did them and the time they were made. And really, do we have that little imagination that we can't think of new movies rather than bringing these?
Well, I don't-
The Rock in Big Trouble in Little China. Are you kidding me?
They're going to turn Jack Burton into an action star, and that's not who he was.
Yeah.
That's
It's like Andy Dick doing Terminator or something. It's like, why are we bothering with this shit? You know, just
They're
write
still
something
coming out
new.
with those.
Although I
Still
would
those
like to
coming
see
out.
that. That would be funny.
Well, did you see the trailer for the new Point Break movie?
Who's that? And they're also who's in that one though?
Nobody I even know of.
I don't know.
Same director though, right? I think it's
Erickson
Spielberg
Core?
who's in that. I thought it was what's Spielberg remaking that he made at one time. I can't remember what it is. But they're also doing. They're remaking Footloose. Not Footloose. No, not Footloose. The one with the Roadhouse one. What was it called? With the guy that he died a while ago of brain cancer. Where he's a head bouncer.
Roadhouse. That's actually
Yeah,
what
I
it's
think
called.
it is Roadhouse,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Is it called Roadhouse? They're
Yeah.
remaking that.
With Patrick, they're remaking.
really?
Oh man, see, and I think what the problem is too, and I don't think it's the fact that they're coming up. It's a lack of original ideas. I think it's the companies, the production companies and the studios are too afraid to take risks on these original ideas. They're just putting out what they know is going to make money and what people are going to go and see.
Well, there's not, and you go to meetings at networks and stuff now. It's not people who have any sort of artistic talents all behind it all now. It's just money people.
Yeah.
So that's it's not anybody who you go in to talk about a comedy, doing a comedy, and these people have no sense of humor whatsoever. So it's not like you can go in and talk about something with Mel Brooks anymore. You're talking to an accountant basically trying to sell something. So it's impossible. I give up. I gave up when reality shows started. I just gave up. The fact that people are watching Here Comes Honey Boo Boo, and there's, like a pedophile on the show, and, we're glorifying that. I mean, I've lost track of the Kardashians and all that shit.
Oh, I can't stand the Kardashians, any of them. I can't stand any of them. So, but
I can't remember. I think it was it on Letterman's last show? And you guys probably won't get this joke because you're not old enough, I don't think. But he said, when my show first started, the hottest show on network TV was Keeping Up with the Gabors.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you remember Zsa and Ava Gabor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They were kind of like the Kardashians at their time. I thought that was a fucking funny line, but nobody's gonna get it. But that's what I loved about Letterman. He would just do stuff because it made him laugh.
Yeah.
Not everybody else laughs.
Yeah. And that's the best part of it. And that's the best part of any comedy is if you can make people laugh. If it makes you laugh, then that's what you should do.
And I tell you, the best move I ever made was to switch from stand-up to improv, because the people that I've worked with doing improv, I never would have worked with if I did stand-up. I worked with all my heroes doing improv. Jim Conway, Sid Caesar, Jonathan Winters. I got to Robin. I got to work with all these people on stage that if I was doing stand-up, I never would have.
Yeah.
Jonathan Winters and Sid Caesar, give me a break.
That Sid Caesar episode where you guys brought him in for his birthday was such a great episode. Especially the game that he played in the end, the alphabet game. Where I think it wasn't the alphabet game. I think it was
gibberish.
The languages that you guys had to play.
And he didn't live much longer after that. And he came in. You didn't see it when he came into the studio, but he came in on a cane. And he had those kind of velvet slippers you get from the Beverly Hills Hotel with the crest on them. I thought, this is old show business. This is what it's. And the same with Jonathan Winters. These guys are just brilliant, and be able to work with them before they died, it was like and I joke with Colin because I keep telling Colin, we're becoming kind of like the Tim Conways of our time, because I remember watching Tim Conway when I was a kid, and I used to think to myself, well, he's kind of old, but he's funny,
Yeah.
And I think we're kind of becoming that, So it's odd in a way that we're kind of, turning into that, because you never think about it that way. But, I'm not happy I got to work. And Carol Burnett and all these people, it's like,
Well, you mentioned,
it's a joy.
Yeah, you mentioned Carol Burnett and Tim Conway. I watch clips of those old Carol Burnett shows, and I wish someone would put them out on DVD, because they're funnier than anything that's on TV now.
Look, it's the last time anybody did a variety show. It's a dead art. The variety show is a dead art. Nobody will ever do it again.
Yeah. Well, the closest thing you come now is
stand-ups. It's not going to happen. It just can't happen. It's just nobody waits anymore. Everything's too fast. It's boom, boom, boom. And there's too many channels now. People just flick through junk.
Yeah.
It's like I got to watch shows about crab fishermen and people who get hogs together out of the forest.
Yeah.
Really?
And
American hoggers?
And people who drive on dangerous roads and things like that.
God, Jesus, everything. It doesn't matter. It's like, American plumber,
There was an entire show I saw a commercial for where all it is women giving birth in the woods. That was the entire show.
Yeah, of course. And half these shows are bullshit. These moonshiners, you can't do something illegal like that.
Yeah.
There's no way to do it on TV. They're breaking the law. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
Half these shows are just, they give them the lines and they tell them what to do. And
it's all scripted.
Yeah.
It's all scripted.
Yeah. I want to jump backwards for just a minute before we let you go. You had mentioned, working with Jonathan Winters and everything. I was a huge fan, and I spoke to Colin and Greg about this too, so I'm wondering your opinion. I was a huge fan of Robin. He was probably my comedy idol. I was devastated when he passed, and I know you got the chance to work with him. And I'm just wondering what your impression of him was when you actually got the chance to do that episode of Whose Line with him.
Well, I'd worked with him quite a few times before that. The first time I ever worked with him, I was doing stand-up dash improv up at a place called Punchlines in Vancouver, and he was shooting Jumanji in Vancouver. I don't know. I can't even tell you what year this was. It's got to be, again, 25 years ago, 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But he knew we did improv on Thursdays, so he would come down and do improv with us every Thursday. We were both quite young at that time, I think. And, throughout the years, he kept popping into, he'd come to do stuff on stage with us, and then the one thing I always really loved about Robin is he never had an entourage. He would always come by himself, He always had like a Starbucks coffee.
Mm-hmm.
He would come in the back. He would come in the back door. He didn't want to be seen by people. He didn't want to be, the life of the party when he walked in and take focus from you. He would come in, do the show, talk to you for a little while, and he'd leave. But he was never comfortable one-on-one. He would never. If you and him were in a room by yourselves, he was quiet. He wouldn't say anything, But as soon as you put like more than a couple people in a room, then he kind of came alive, But he was the nicest guy in the world. He's sweaty as hell. I know when we did Who's Line, Wardrobe had 5 shirts for him. Because we did one scene, Rob and I did one scene on Who's Line where we're on the ground and he rolled over me. And when he got to the other side of me, my shirt was stretched because he was that sweaty. Hairy, and sweaty.
Yeah. Yeah,
but funny as hell, man. I loved him. He was a great guy. And him and Jonathan were good friends. So, you know, to see them both go around the same time was like, wow. You know, not a lot of death in show business really affected me. Like when Joan Rivers and people die, it's like, oh, you know, I admired Joan Rivers, but it doesn't depress me, you know.
Yeah.
But when those guys died, it was like when I heard Robin died, it was like, oh, fuck, you know, really, seriously.
Yeah, that's how I was too. There's not a lot of like celebrity deaths or anything that kind of affect me, but Robin pretty hit me hard because I mean, obviously he had his demons, and I think I've had my share of my own too. So I kind of related to him a little bit, and I found a lot of comfort in his comedy. So obviously when he left us, it hit me pretty hard. So I love hearing, you know, what other people's impressions of who worked with him and such.
Yeah, I know Greg was supposed to have dinner with him like 2 nights after that happened. So
wow.
Greg and him were pretty close because they both started in San Francisco and broke and stuff there around the same time. But you know, he was one of those guys that if you needed him for something, he was always there. You know, if you needed him for a benefit show or something, he'd be there. You know, unlike Charlie. Charlie's the nicest guy in the world. But if Charlie told you right now that he would be somewhere tonight, he's probably not showing up. And it's not his fault. It's just, you know, something happened. You know.
Yeah.
You had to get money for one of his hookers or something. But he's a hell of a nice guy. You know.
Yeah, I never looked down on Charlie, even with all that other stuff that was going on. I was still a big fan of him, and you know.
You know what? Here's the thing about Charlie, okay? And Drew was kind of the same way in Drew's early days when Drew used to date strippers and stuff like that. These guys never lied about anything.
Yeah.
They would tell you, you know, when that whole Heidi Fleiss thing happened, you know, Charlie was like, yeah, I spent like $500,000 on hookers last year. You know, he didn't bullshit and try to, you know, like the people do now, and they try to weasel their way out of stuff and because of publicity and all that. He always told the truth, you know. And you got to kind of admire people for that, you know. And then they become boring to the tabloids because they're not hiding anything, you know.
Yeah.
So why do anything on them, you know?
So, do you still talk to Drew? You know, I know you don't. He's not hosting the show anymore now. He's doing The Price Is Right. But do you still talk to him on a regular basis?
Yeah, I talk to him, you know, quite a bit. Not quite a bit. I'll talk to him on the phone maybe, you know, once every 3 months. But we'll text once in a while when I forget. You know, oh shit, I haven't texted Drew in a long time. You know, but. You know, you'll text him and then he'll text back, "Miss you, buddy," or something. You know, he's really a sentimental guy. You know?
Yeah.
And plus, you know, I live in Bellingham, Washington, and he owns part of the Seattle Sounders, the soccer team. So if there's a game, he always invites me to the game. But you know, once in a while I get down. But you know, it's kind of a drive. But you know, I get down to LA, I see him once in a while. You know, but we're still. Again, he's like a brother, you know. If you don't see him for 2 years, it doesn't matter. First time you see him, it's like, oh, hey, how are you? You know, it's back to normal again, you know.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to him sometime because I know he doesn't know it, but Drew and I are fraternity brothers.
Oh,
so,
wow, really?
Yeah.
You probably love that.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, the only guy I never talked to off the Drew Carey show, I talked to Craig once in a while, I talked to Cabby a lot, but is Dietrich, who played Oswald on the show. I did every scene with him for 10 years. We were in every scene together, and I talked to him once since the show ended because I saw him on the street. Yeah, it's very odd, you know.
Yeah.
Very odd.
So, well, I know we don't want to keep it any longer. You've given us more than enough time, so we don't want to, you know, take up any more of your time. One final question.
Now I'm going to go take a shower, and I'm going to take a shower and go improvise.
Oh, there you go.
Perfect.
One final question before we let you go. And over the 200 episodes, you've worked with Clive, you've worked with Drew, you've worked with Aisha. I know it's probably tough to choose. Do you have a favorite?
Well, you know what? I mean, Clive was great because it was new and it was thrilling back then. We did it in England. You know, we had to fly over to England. It was brand new. It was, you know, and it was. I remember Clive because of that. Then when we brought it over here, I remember because it was Drew, and I did 2 shows with Drew, so it was good, brand new. It was really close. And then with Aisha, it was odd because, you know, we'd always made fun of Drew when we did the show and stuff. So when we started the show, it was like, oh, she's a woman. We can't make fun of her. You know? And then she started hacking on us. So we realized, oh, wait a minute, we can because she's just sitting here hacking on us.
Fair game.
So it took about a year to get comfortable with Aisha because we didn't want to, you know, again, step on toes and that kind of stuff. But she's hilarious and she's fun to work with. So they're all great in their own way, you know.
Yeah.
Aisha's very smart. You know, Drew always cracked up and he couldn't stop laughing sometimes. And Clive just had a really dry sense of humor where he'd hack on you all the time. So they were all different. And, you know, the show itself, it's been the same set for, you know, since 1989 when we started. You wouldn't know what decade you were in or what city. We've done it in New York, we've done it in London, we've done it in L.A. I mean, you wouldn't know where you are because the chair is always the same. The guy sitting to the right of me is always the same. You know, I got the piano on their left. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like when we started back, we hadn't done it for 10 years. At the first show, Colin and I looked at each other. It was like we had just gone on a coffee break or something. You know, and that was 10 years. So, you know, it's all the same. But people, it's funny because when we don't do Who's Line for 10 years, people just assume that you stopped improvising for 10 years. You know.
Yeah.
that you don't improvise anymore when you're on stage 2 or 3 times a week. You know, you don't give up improvising just because Who's Line's off the air. But it's a great show, and you know, someday it'll run its course. But I don't know when. You know, but I don't care as long as we want to do it. It's fine with me.
Yeah, it's like oh, God.
It's very. I'm just gonna say it's very timeless. Like the entire premise. I mean, you could watch an episode from any of the previous iterations, and it's still funny. You know what I mean?
And you know what? It's cliche, and I hate to say it this way, but it really is a show you can watch. And I shouldn't say that because I used to watch when my kids were little. I used to watch America's Funniest Videos with them because it was a show that the family could watch. And Whose Line's kind of like that. I mean, the worst thing you're going to see is 2 grown men kissing each other, you know, which little kids think is odd anyway, you know. But, you know, it really is because we keep it clean. You know, it's a bit risque once in a while. But, you know, I've got so many people, girls that will come up that are, you know, 25, 26 years old, tell me, oh, I used to watch you when I was like 6, 7 years old, which could not make you feel older. You know? But, you know, people grew up with us, which is kind of odd, I think.
Yeah, I still watch them. I have every episode of the 10-year run when you guys first brought it to America. I have every episode on my computer. There are times I'll let them run all weekend just playing on a shuffle. And
oh no, man! You got to get out. You got to do something. Are you under house arrest?
No. It's usually during the winter when there's not really much to do and it's snowing outside and stuff.
That's what we make the show for.
So, exactly.
Do you ever do any of your touring over on the East Coast, or do you stay mostly West Coast?
Yeah, we have in years past, but I'm not a good flyer anyway. You know, I'm kind of a West Coast guy. I like my drive-through coffee places. I like, you know, my Pacific Ocean breeze rolling in. I live on the ocean. I live on a lake. You know, and my dad was a fisherman. You know, I don't feel comfortable really unless I'm on the West Coast. But we're back in Toronto and around Ontario, I think, in a few months. So we do get back once in a while, but not as much as we used to.
Okay.
Well, then next time I'm in Bellingham, I'll stop in at the theater.
Please do. You'll enjoy it. I built the theater. It's perfect. It's an absolutely perfect theater.
Yeah. Well, you guys are in your 3rd season now of Whose Lines in Any Way, so people can catch you every Friday, CW, 8 o'clock. Ryan, this has been fantastic. We've been huge fans for a long time. We were so excited to talk to you, so thank you for spending some time with us.
Thanks for taking the time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Guys, stick around. We will be back with the showcast right after this.